race talk from Texas. It's the Revved Up Sports Show. Here's Bobby Jeffy and Rodney Rodriguez.
Go to the hotline. And the factory stocks, the growth of the factory stocks, we've all witnessed it, and they are everywhere. There's like almost 600 of these guys that are in the region right here, and the great idea has come about. Let's do some power rankings. Let's rank these guys, and when it's all said and done, something's going to come off it, and it's going to be worth it for everybody to perform. Obviously, they want to perform. I mean, we know that. But now there's a system in place to where at the end of all of this, it's going to be a good thing. We're going to talk to one of our longtime buddies that is on the line with us. It is A.B. Aaron Brungot. How you doing, brother?
Pretty good. How about you, sir?
Can't complain, man. Can't complain. Just rolling through the day and mowing them down as soon as they come. So tell us, how did this come to pass?
Well, data, Bobby loves me for it, taking it off the speakerphone there, getting some feedback. So 2020 was kind of tough, and we decided that we were trying to understand racing, where the racers were going, stuff like that. And Nathan Lavender and I have been friends for a long time, and we started playing with My Race Pass and various other feeds and started collecting data. And so we started this whole process looking at every driver at every track and where are they going. Are they traveling farther between tracks? Kind of, what was going on with COVID? That was the initial view. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, 28,000 rows of data from 2020 alone is basically every driver, every class, every track in the region. We're doing probably right about 20 tracks that we're monitoring. So we kind of figured some stuff out. We're doing it again in 2021, same data. And, what's the difference between USRA and IMCA? Where are the cars running? Are the same cars running both sanctions? And then one day in conversation with Chris, it'd come up about, doing something different, and somebody had planted a seed, and I decided to bait Nathan into running with it. So here we are.
That just goes to prove when you sometimes say nothing. That's my problem, Aaron. I say shit, and it's like, boom, here I am.
Mm-hmm. Well, here you are, soaked socks, underwear, everything, watching a NASCAR race at Coda, right?
I was good with that, though. It was all right. Sorry, Bobby, I jumped on you.
No, I think this whole power ranking thing is a great idea, and I think it's an even better idea because of the fact that I don't have to sit there and calculate all that data. I know that AB is a big fan of all the extra data, and I'm just surprised you talked Nathan into doing it too. So in addition to being a data lover and crunching numbers, you must be a hell of a salesman too to get Nathan on board with this. So we already know that Chris and the gang over at Race on Texas have really been getting behind the factory stocks and working on driver of the year and promoter of the year again, just like they did. But it's nice to see that there's some stuff happening with the factory stock power rankings over there.
Yeah. So here's a little secret. Nathan's degree is in math. So that kind of helps.
Where was he back when I was about 15? Probably not born.
Yeah, don't challenge Nathan to math problems. It kind of gets stupid.
But isn't he a social studies teacher? Or is he a math teacher?
No, he deals with social studies in his class all the time. I bet you he's grateful for summer break.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Aren't they all?
I'm sure most teachers are after all this.
One more day for most of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So lay it out. I think probably the most important thing, and I'll pop the graphic up after this. So I think the most important thing about this, AB, is that I really like. This is not a popularity contest. I mean, this is true data crunching. This is performance based, and that's the key right there, because there are so many of these guys and girls. You got to perform, and that's going to move you up these rankings.
Exactly. It doesn't matter who you bribe to do what. If you're racing at factory stocks at one of these tracks that we're tracking, your numbers can go one way or the other. When these rainouts are not helping us from the standpoint of when we go release the power rankings next week, people are probably going to call BS. There's some people that are missing out of the top of the power rankings right now.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that's a teaser right there.
The plot thickens already. Nice. I like it.
The plot thickens like white gravy on a Sunday morning that's 3 hours past its prime.
Yes, sir. That's awesome.
So, Aaron, going to the Matrix and stuff, tell us about some of the stuff. You don't have to give away the entire formula because I don't think that Roddy and I will be able to keep up with it all. But talk about the different Matrix and stuff that's involved with this whole power ranking thing.
So we put the teaser out there, and we were already actually 4 weeks in to diving. And what we've been doing over that time is we pulled all the data from the beginning of the season, and we've gone through and looked at a point system that says, with what we're watching in real life when we're looking at these results, does it make sense? And so we've gone through, there's a 3-tier system, and we are looking at, pull it back up here. So you got wins, top 5s, top 10s, top 15s. Heat race wins, kind of like a bonus point, but can you win heat races and features is kind of the name of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then car counts matter. Factory stock, there's a lot of cars everywhere, but at the same time, if you're running a race that has 10 cars in it, it should not be treated the same as 50 cars at a track trying to make the A main.
Yep.
So, we're giving credit if they're racing in a B main, but you get more credit if you make the A main, and then you get more credit the farther up you finish. And it depends, like I said, there's 3 tiers. You got under 10 cars, you have that middle, and then you got like 16 and over cars. So it's trying to stack you against the number of cars. The more cars in theory is the more competition. I don't have the energy to create a calculation that calculates in where somebody else is in that race.
Mm-hmm.
But we have the data to do it, but we're not going to that extreme. This is more about creating a system that's fun, and we don't have a way right now to compare factory stock drivers.
Yeah. Well, and I think something that you mentioned right there, I think it's so important because I see this back in the days, Bobby. You remember with the Winston Racing Series and so forth, and all of that, the NASCAR Weekly thing, when it was really good. Not that it's bad now, but when it was truly legit, was car count was the huge car count and number of races. That was the hugest part of this, to where you factored that in more with the car count and performance, because no offense, we can watch guys that race on and on and on, race a lot of races and win championships, but it's because they race a lot of races. But this sounds like it's based more on performance and attendance.
So I will tell you right now that the number one guy in power rankings does not have the most points.
Yeah.
Another teaser. Again, look at the man try to sell this power ranking.
That's good.
It's math, Bobby. No, it's honestly, it's average. It's average points per race is the only way that we could level set everybody. You got all the rainouts we're looking at. You've got some people that are running one track, some people that run 4 nights a week if they could.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you level that? And so we've created a point system on a race basis, but the rankings is actually based off the average points attained per race to level set the number of races. There is a minimum number of races, and that's why some people are not in the rankings right now.
As there should be. Sorry.
You can't run one race and win one race and be at the top of the rankings.
100%. Yeah.
So, Aaron, any thought about trying to make this into different classes, or are we solely trying to concentrate on the factory stocks? I mean, once these spreadsheets and everything else start going, is it just as easy to start plugging in, say, IMCA sport mods into a race into the factory stuff here?
Yes and no. It takes probably about 2.5 hours just to pull the data right now for factory stocks every week. We are over 20 hours into pulling data to catch us up for the season. So right now, I think that the 2021 focus is on power ranks for factory stocks. We got to look at process and how we could do this less painfully to do it for other classes. But when you think about it, the power rankings for factory stocks, they don't have a governing body. So there's no national points, things like that. Those other classes, most of them have that kind of effect where, you're racing towards something. And that was kind of the goal when we looked at this, is we're like, you know what? We want to give a unity to factory stocks and give them something to race to. So I may have twisted somebody's arm, and, some of the feedback was, well, a bunch of these guys never race against each other. So we want to see who can make it into the top 50 in power rankings and get an invite for October 8th and 9th at Cotton Bowl to settle it.
Nice.
It's kind of how we want to cap this whole thing this year.
Nice. I like that a lot. So this is, as you were, and as I've kind of, you and I've kind of talked a little bit. So honestly, to me, what this really is, and like what Bobby was asking right there, this kind of is like with the stock cars, like what this is somewhat that to where, because I know like Jason Batt will go race he races 8 days a week. That's really what this is. It's giving the factory stocks kind of the outlaw division, kind of giving them their whether it be IMCA or USRA big term goal at the end of the rainbow.
Absolutely. The advantage of IMCA is you have the same rules that you can go run anywhere. Not all factory stock rules are the same at every track, but it's really, really close. It's close enough that we could say it's level competition.
Yep.
There are 16 tracks right now that we have data on. We're watching 10 more because they, if you go run a big race at a different track that doesn't normally run factory stocks, we're counting that race in this. I think it is that end of rainbow, but another thing that we want to do is this is about fans and team interaction. And so there's going to be somebody that doesn't make the top 50, and we've put together a way that will start a little bit later on where they may be able to get into that invitational race based on, social promotion.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. There's still going to be an underdog in the rankings, but they may be a Cinderella story at the race.
Yeah. Nice.
So, what other than this big race coming up at the end of the year at Cotton Bowl, is there any kind of grand prize you guys are thinking about giving away, other than just maybe a big old trophy from the fine folks somewhere that are trophy sponsors?
Yep. So there's a trophy for sure. There are some other things that we are working on. Teaser that June's going to be an immensely busy month. We've had projects, and they're all kind of coming to fruition this month. But we think that we'll have things lined up at the beginning of July that we're not just going to have the drivers involved in this. We're going to have the fans involved in this. And, All In Designs is to come on board, and we can't appreciate their support enough for our, big audacious goal, and they're on board. This gives the fans something to cheer for, not just the drivers.
Yeah. And I really think that so how is this going to work, Aaron? Is it going to be so when the rankings come out? Because I'm asking this like for myself and Bobby as well. When he's at Texana as a PA guy. So are these going to be updated weekly, monthly? I know it's asking a lot because that's a lot of data, however we want to say it. That's a lot because that really is where we can say here comes the number 6 ranked whatever. The frequency of the updates, what are we looking at with that?
So in the world of media and everything, when you hear the same thing over and over, after a while, it just fizzles out. And so we don't want to have that same effect. So we're going to initial launch here next week with updated data. And then our plan right now is you'll have a June and a July, basically right after the holidays, that we'll put rankings out. And then probably in August, we will switch over. You'll have enough races at that point to where you can add a kind of every other week. And then probably in September, we'll issue them every week. So builds as you go. But if we do it every week to start off, the movement can be, huge, or it can be tiny. Mm-hmm. We just don't want to get everybody fatigued on what ranking I am.
Yeah.
Interesting concept, doing it by the month. I think it's going to become so popular. You guys may not have a choice but to start releasing it weekly. I know that's a tough challenge and going on. But so in terms of the power rankings themselves, we keep hearing that some of the numbers, like who we think is going to be on top or not in top. When you do this initial formula, when you start pulling from the different racetracks, are the racetracks themselves, is it all based in Texas, or do we have the Rev factored into that over in Monroe because there's so many Texas racers that go over there? Arklatex has their own unique set of rules. It's kind of been the baseline for all the factory stocks and stuff. So, is there any specific track that you're looking at adding, or are you going to reveal the tracks when you reveal the power rankings coming up here in a little bit?
Well, we didn't get to. So I'll be straight honest. When we started this project, the conversation was, is this a speed pass project or a racing project? We looked at the speed pass tracks that we have: Cotton Bowl, Texana, 105, I-37, Hot, RPM, Boot Hill, Buffalo, Monarch. And we said, do we do it within those tracks? But I'll be honest, there's conversations of other tracks becoming speed pass tracks. And then there's you can't stack this driver when he's raced at these other tracks and not count that data and this one. And so we kind of open the umbrella up, and you've got, Kennedale is on here.
Yep.
They're producing some huge competition at that track. They've had a great year.
Yeah. South
Texas Speedway, cars at that track, I think they've only had one race, if I remember right, so far. So those drivers, how do you level set? They've moved up to 37 or Texana in their stuff. Some have come up to Cotton Bowl. We've got 82, Grayson, Big O, Devil's Bowl, Super Bowl. And there's several other tracks that don't typically run factory stocks that we're watching. Yeah. So we are trying to say, hey, where are factories racing, and catch the data.
Yeah. This really looks like an opportunity to where it could be, do you foresee, Aaron, that as this has started, especially with, we talk about the end of the rainbow, do you think that we're going to start seeing, obviously there's a bunch of big factory stock shows anyway. We get to the Clash in Etna here at the end of the year. This could be massive for that one. Do you think that with the implication of this, do you think that you're going to start seeing some big-ass factory stock shows popping up, bigger than what we already have?
It's really hard to say, because so going back to that data that we pulled in 2020 and 2021, what we've seen is that drivers are kind of territorial, and they're going to stay within a circle of their house. Mm-hmm. But if there's a big enough show, they do travel. There's shows, when you think of the Fall Classic and things like that. One of my favorite memories is Dwayne being car owner, Terry being driver, and trying to race in against 55 other street stocks at Fall Classic when we first started dirt racing. And, that's a fun thing, but can you imagine trying to race in against 50 of the top drivers in the region?
Mm-hmm.
That's a story right there. Like, that's not just a story, it's a feat. And that's the kind of thing that we could potentially do. Yeah. We've tested. We did the shootout with the factory stocks at Cotton Bowl earlier in the year, and you look at the people that were in that race, and I'm staring at the power rankings right now, and I don't want to fire off names because I don't want to give away where people are in the power rankings, but those people are in this power rankings, and this kind of justifies how tough it was to get in that race and to finish well in that race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But money talks, right?
That's right. That's exactly right.
So we're looking at putting together a pretty good deal at Oktoberfest for the drivers in these power rankings. You know, we're going to reach out to sponsors and do stuff. And, you know, I'll tell you that even the lap sponsor that we did at Cotton Bowl when we did that shootout, you know, that added $500 to the purse, but it made it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't $500 for any specific person. It was, you know, if you can get up there and lead laps and things like that. So we're trying to get out of the box, do some fun stuff. You know, Speed Pass is a year old. And, you know, a lot of these people you can watch on Speed Pass on Saturday night, Friday night, sometimes Sunday night, sometimes Thursday night.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
So, Aaron, since you won't reveal the top ranking now, obviously, you know, we're trying to get you to spill the beans because, you know, that's what we like to do over
Who's
here.
third?
Is try to get...
Who's in third?
Yeah, right. You know, let us know, you know, just let us know the driver who's in fifth position, if that's going to shock the world, because, you know, that's what we like to do over here. But at the end goal, at the end of the day, is it about making racing the factory stock stuff? That's a good bite. That's a good bite right there.
Thank you.
Is it just about bringing more attention to the factory stocks? Is that what it was all about at the end of the day? Because it seems like the factory stocks were the class that was blowing up there for the longest time, and they ended up being, you know, the next most popular class. We've got guys that are dropping down a class, trying to come and race with them. So it just seems like this became a who's who of who's it going to be. So I mean, I think at the end of the day, was that, as I ramble on, was that part of the process, was to just make factory stocks more powerful in Texas?
Get to the point, BC. Get to the point.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. Aaron's like, so what's the question?
Yeah,
over analytical. What was that word?
Over analyzing. Yeah, that's what we were talking about with you and your numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like you overanalyzed the question there, Bobby. Just saying now.
Not in my house.
No, honestly, we have looked at racing differently. When you think about Speed Pass, you know, all these tracks are in competition for car count. And, you know, how is a track being successful? This track versus that track. You know, there's all of this stuff where you could go. But the overall goal, you know, even with Speed Pass, is it's about creating a stronger environment for racing, period, in the region. And so, you know, with half the money going back to the tracks, it's not we're putting it in our pocket. We're putting it in the track's pocket to help them in times like this where, you know, 6 weeks of rainouts. You know, when the track doesn't race, the track doesn't make money, is the way it's been. So that's one piece of it. But then the other piece of it is, this is about conversations. This is about reasons why. You know, why to go to this race. You know, I think that one of the biggest things that people forget is they consume, but they don't necessarily share. Yeah. And we really want, you know, these names to be out there and shared. I actually had a conversation earlier today on the phone. I can't disclose stuff because then I would get in trouble by Chris. But, you know, in this conversation with somebody that you wouldn't think knows, you know, I told him, I was like, yeah, you know, I do marketing at Cotton Bowl, and oh yeah, man, I heard of that track, and it blew me away because, you know, you really don't think about people knowing because you're kind of stuck in this bubble, but we're trying to get outside that bubble, and it's working. Yeah. You know, and social media has its ups and downs for reasons, but that's what's facilitating a bunch of this. You know, we want to see these drivers succeed. You know, the more popularity that they get, more exposure, the better their sponsor deals can be, the easier it is to fund a ride. A lot of these guys fund their ride through their pocket.
Yeah.
And so,
that's totally right.
You know, this is kind of trying to create an environment and improve it. And I feel like this kind of stuff does that for racing.
Yeah, it does. Aaron, let me ask you, when it comes to Speed Pass, I mean, you know, thinking back, you know, to, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, I mean, it always was where, whether it be a race on Texas or Speed 51, whoever it may be. That was, in some promoters' thoughts, not the friend of the track. I mean, yet the track allowed him in. The track allowed him in, but at the same time bitched about them, not getting people in the turnstiles. How much of a challenge has it been for, I hate to say that the pandemic has been good, but I think maybe the pandemic has been good for folks to understand how important streaming is. But like with Speed Pass, how's it been to massage track owners, track operators to understand the value of Speed Pass, for folks that can't get to the racetrack? Is that a work in progress?
There's some tough conversations. I feel like when times are good, some promoters can be believers, and when times are tough, it's hard for them to believe.
Yeah.
I still think that there's conversations about digital is hurting racing. And when I say that, people going Facebook Live,
that hurts racing.
It's you're doing it. I watched it. Being totally transparent. There's a lot of controversy over the All-Star shootout that's running right now, and my feed was lit up with Facebook Lives last night, and that doesn't help the situation at all.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get it somewhere else. But, the model that we built, I feel like it's made it easier in those conversations, and it's made it a lot easier if, Kevin Rogers, there's been talks with him, and at the end of 2020, when he turned around and looked at, financial contributions and sponsors and stuff like that, Speed Pass was right there in the top of his list.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the thing that I want to emphasize, though, is it's not Speed Pass. It's fans that want to support it that are making it possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real thing that you have to look at. There's a lot of individual people contributing small amounts to make it successful.
Yeah. That really is important. And I mean, it does come down to, folks can't get to the track or don't want to go to the track. I mean, whatever I used to think, I remember being a kid, Aaron, when we couldn't get to Speed or Longhorn, whatever it was, we couldn't get there on a Friday night. I was like crushed. And now to have, I think, whether it be, Race on Texas or all of them, I mean, everybody does a really good job.
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them, and it's very competitive. And I just think that the nice thing about it is that it's there. That it's there. I mean, you don't have to be, and when we talk about kids and so forth, you don't have to be sitting at home crushed all night because you can't be there. You can still be there. You're just not there.
I'll tell you, last July, Owen decided to have his 4th of July race and was new on the Speed Pass. Like Speed Pass, when that decision was made, was 3 weeks old. And we went down there to support his race, and we were testing and doing stuff, and I was running around, but we also had a brand new baby.
Ooh.
And my wife was with the baby in the hauler watching on Speed Pass at the track. The same thing, we have gone to races where you're trying to keep up with another race at the track, watching what's going on at another track. I mean, there's ridiculous amounts of racing.
This is Real Race Talk from Texas.